22 minutes before the hour. Joining us now as we've learned of another explosion at a FedEx facility, I believe, just outside of Austin late last night. Joining us as always on these Tuesdays is the President and CEO of the National NAACP, Derrick Johnson. Derrick, God bless you, brother. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good. Always pleasure to have you. Derrick, also joining us this morning is the president of the Austin, Texas branch of the NAACP, Nelson Linder. Nelson, good morning to you, brother.
Good morning, brothers. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine. Pleasure to have you on with us. Unfortunately, not under the circumstances, though. Nelson, there's been another explosion late last night.
This morning in a place called Church, Texas, that's right next door to San Antonio. But this bomb exploded in a FedEx facility, thank God. But it was addressed to a recipient in Austin.
It was addressed. So you were the first one to come out and express concern that all of this was related.
Well, it's true, because the first two incidents were addressed to black families. First, on March 2nd, killed Anthony House. The second, on March 12th, injured Grayla Mason's mother and killed him. And so those incidents were targeted to very prominent black families. And the same day, there was another bomb sent to another Mason who was not related that injured a Hispanic lady, Esperanza Herrera. So these things were very targeted initially to families, but now there's appears to be a change in tactics. But our goal was to make sure we understood, number one, that our community should be aware of these incidences. And if you pay attention, you can check things on your block and in your mail. But unfortunately, the first incident, we weren't aware of what the situation really was. So we try to educate people to make sure they know what they can do to protect themselves. That happened right away after the second incident.
Derrick, what's your take on this?
We talked about this early on as it related to incident in Charlottesville, Virginia, and the increase in racial tension as a result of the tone that's being created out of the White House. We are blessed to have local branch presidents like Nelson and state conference presidents like Gary Bledsoe, my friend and yours, who are local, understand the community dynamics, and can begin to identify potential threats to our community. Nelson, President Linder, he identified this early on. He said this could be a part of a racial motivated attack. I believe he's correct. It sends the early signal to our community that we need to be cautious. But most importantly, it goes back to what I say week in and week out. We must change the political dynamic in this country, and we only can do that in November. But until November, law enforcement must be on the aware and be held accountable to ensure that our community is protected and not be bystanders asking for the assailants to turn themselves in. We must aggressively pursue this as if it was any other community under attack.
Derrick, the NAACP, the CBC has said, the Congressional Black Caucus has said this should be treated as an ongoing terrorist threat. I was just talking with my team in here. I mean, if this was going on right here in New York City, there would be no other news being reported. Everything would be shut down. Is the NAACP, Derrick, planning to join the CBC in that call for this to be taken as seriously as a terrorist threat?
We stand in lockstep with the CPC on that call, and I think President Linder raised the specter of the problem from the initial attack. If you live in a community and you see what the dynamics are and incidents like this take place, you have to pay attention to black leadership. And in Austin, Texas, our local branch president is a part of that leadership structure, and he called this early on. Law enforcement must develop the type of ear and discipline to listen to our community leaders when we say this is a problem, we see a potential threat, and in this case, it is a terroristic. It's terroristic in model and in frame. If this happened in Times Square, everything will be shut down. If this happened at the National Airport in Washington, D.C., everything should be shut down. And because this group of individuals have what we believe targeted African Americans, we need to shut things down until we identify who's behind this.
Derrick Johnson, national president of NAACP, Nelson Linder is the president of the Austin, Texas branch. Nelson, you've been giving families and residents specific instructions as well as to how they should handle packages. In fact, they shouldn't handle any packages at all, correct?
Exactly. At this point, if you're suspicious, just call the service up, whether it be the post office, and have them do a check. Now, these packages that were delivered were done by hand, so they were not going through a mail system, which is a major problem. Because once folks, they didn't know that, so once we told them that, you can stop some of this stuff. But back to the president's message, if our community is aware and woke, as we say, some of this stuff can stop. So given the political environment, we've got to pay attention and close ranks. Because if we close ranks and pay attention, these are our communities and our neighborhoods. So in spite of law enforcement, which should be protecting everybody, we have to make sure we demand that by our awareness and our unity in trying to take care of each other. Now that's occurring. Just so you know, on Sunday night, that bomb hit a very exclusive white community. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Now, everything has changed now. We've got more law enforcement than ever in these cities. And right now, this is an international story. But on Sunday night, everything changed as far as the way this thing is being reported because they hit a very exclusive white community outside of the city of Austin.
So that is interesting. You and I were talking last night. Let's try to take this just step by step.
Okay.
Explain to us again how the first three individuals who were killed and injured were related.
Well, on March 2nd, Anthony House, who was killed, that was not really given a lot of attention in the media. His stepfather is Dr. Freddie Dixon. Okay, on March the 12th, the young kid, Gorilla Mason, was killed.
Now, who is Dr. Freddie Dixon?
Dr. Freddie Dixon is a very good friend of Dr. Norman Mason, who's the grandfather of Gorilla Mason. But also, Dr. Dixon is a longtime minister in the Austin area. And also one of the co-founders of the Austin Area Urban League. So he was very involved in our community. But he and Dr. Mason, the grandfather of Gorilla Mason, who was killed, know each other very well for the past 30, 40 years. So those two incidents to us were very, very connected. And so we thought there was some kind of targeting there because going forward, the third bomb on the same day, March 12th, although it injured a Hispanic lady, it was intended for an Erica Mason, but they made a mistake. She was not related to the family. So clearly there's some targeting here as well. And some of this stuff is very specific.
Okay. Now, the bombing on Sunday, did I understand you to tell me last night that you think that may have been meant for someone else?
Well, I think the bombing on Sunday night was a very different change. First of all, it took place at 8:30 p.m. The other bombs were done in the mornings. Secondly, it was out in a very exclusive white area, and it was a trip bomb. They had linked this bomb to a fence using some kind of small wire on a sidewalk. So apparently somebody ran over it on bicycles. These are two white victims, two young white males. So that was a whole different pattern. And the key was it was a trip bomb, which is a different mythology. But also, man, this area, I can't tell you how exclusive it was. This is a very gated, not diverse community. So that shook up a lot of stuff. And I was there most of the morning on yesterday. So that changed the whole focus of this investigation to a citywide issue. We said from day one, treat everybody the same, and we can solve this problem.
The victims on Sunday night, were white?
They were young white males, age 22 and age 23.
And what do we know about the victim at the FedEx facility?
Not very much yet. They're not telling us this morning just the explosion itself, how it occurred. But the main thing is it was intended to go to a recipient in Austin, Texas. So I'll be following that today, and I'll make sure I share the more information as it comes out to our community.
Wow. Derrick Johnson, we've not heard a word from Donald Trump about this.
Well, you probably won't. But at the end of the day, I want to particularly send a shout out to President Linder for his local leadership, the value of the NAACP. We don't have to go to communities. We're already there, 2,200 communities across the country.
Yep.
And because we have local leadership and individuals who are on the lookout to ensure that African Americans are afforded a quality of life that's entitled to all citizens and human beings, we exist. So we're not parachuting in, but more importantly, because we have good local leadership, we're ever vigilant. This is a series of bombings that pose a threat not only to our community, to all communities. But if it shows itself to have racial motivation, NAACP, we're on top of it. So I want to commend President Linder, because what most people don't understand, and if they did, they can have a deep appreciation, our branch leadership, presidents, are all volunteers. So he's given up his time and his resources to ensure our community have a voice in situations like this.
Yeah.
So whether Donald Trump say something at all, the president I'm going to commend is President Linder for being on the spot early on, and in many cases before the media paid any serious attention to this.
Yeah, and this is the president we support, folks, at this hour, Nelson Linder, and of course President Derrick Johnson, both of the NAACP. And just to build on Derrick's point, one of the things and one of the reasons Derrick and I are close and we do this, and I appreciate Derrick, is that he's a national president whose mission is to build up and illuminate these local branches and local branch presidents. The NAACP is only as strong as its 2,200 branches, which is very, very strong. And we appreciate Nelson, your leadership in this. Nelson, did you know any of these victims personally?
Absolutely. In fact, the first victim, Anthony House, built our branch's first website 10 years ago. And his mother-in-law was one of our officers. He was the second vice president. So I knew this family very well. Dr. Freddie Dixon taught me philosophy in 1981.
Wow. And what about the young man? There was this young man who really was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a musical and intellectual prodigy who lost his life.
Yeah, this kid was incredible, brother. This kid was incredible. Very talented, played 3 or 4 instruments, A student going to Ivy League school. He was Dr. Mason's grandson, just a tremendous young brother who was a model for intelligence and just outstanding young man. So that is a tremendous loss to our community and our whole nation, really.
Yeah, Draylon Mason.
Draylon Mason
was his name. Is law enforcement giving you regular updates, Nelson?
Oh yeah, in fact, I've been attending the briefings. We worked hard to make sure law enforcement is held accountable. So we value communication. But I've attended those briefings myself. They invited me also, but I attended every one of them to make sure they know that we're watching, and what I get, I will scrutinize it, and I share it with our community. So they know we're going to be there. And also, we're not just reporting the news. We're also scrutinizing the news to make sure it's correct and accurate. Because some of this stuff is not accurate.
Yeah. Derrick, I was talking to Nelson last night. This reminds me of the sniper in the Washington metropolitan area, Derrick. You remember that?
Remember the sniper in the D.C. area, but also remember the bombs and the mail packages in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Where they targeted federal judges and NAACP officers.
Yeah.
And so we've seen these episodes of history before. I think the sniper gives us a lesson that we shouldn't jump to any unnecessary conclusions.
Sure.
Because everyone thought it was a white male, come to find out it was African-American male.
Right.
Mental health issues across all communities. But we also should not take it for granted because we see what took place in the late 80s, 90s with the mail package bombs targeting federal judge NAACP, and it was racially motivated.
Yeah.
For the NAACP, our alarms are always up because we understand that this moment in history, there is a heightened level of racial animus. But even if it was not racially motivated, the mere fact that we will have someone seeking to harm others through bombs tells us that we are in a terroristic moment and we need to address it immediately.
Yeah. Nelson, if you would, what are your next steps for today? First of all, you have your own radio show.
In about 1 hour, yes, sir.
And what station are you on?
This is KAZI 88.7 FM in Austin, Texas.
Okay, and what time are you on?
I'm on. I'll be on my time 7 o'clock.
Okay, how long is your show? 1 hour, 2 hours?
It's 1 hour. It's a 1 hour show.
All right, so 7 a.m. Central Time, 88.7
right.
in FM in Austin. For those of you in the Austin area, KAZA. I don't know if that's available online, but you all can.
It's online. It's definitely online.
Okay, so folks, Google KAZA 88.7, so you all can hear my brother's show as well. After your show, what's the first thing you're going to do today?
Well, I've got another interview with a station out of Chicago, but also I'm going to be getting information from the briefings. These briefings occurring every day.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the information and share it to our community and make sure we're supporting the latest news as it comes out. We're staying on top of this. I can also thank my national president, Mr. Johnson, because, we are his soldiers in the field, and we've got great national leadership. And this shows you the importance of NAACP, our structure, our organization.
Yeah.
We're talking to the entire world.
Yeah.
And your show, brother, is a good example of that. So we can be powerful if we understand who we are and our power. We are organized, we're structured, and we're committed.
Yes, sir.
And that's a very powerful force.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, listen, I want to thank you. Folks, be very, very careful. Don't open any packages that are left on the door and whatnot. That's really the instruction we want people to have, right, Nelson?
Absolutely. And also pay attention to your entire community, but secure your space first. Your space first.
Amen. We're going to keep you close at hand, Nelson. If anything happens that we need to help you get out, you have my number. Call me directly. Thank you. Derrick, thank you as well, my brother. I know we're going to be following this very, very closely. We've seen this movie before, folks.
Absolutely.
And we ought to be very, very concerned. So please keep lifted up.
Mark, you got to finish. Make sure you text.
Yes.
Come out your cell phones, text NAACP to 40649, NAACP 4649. Take the pledge to vote. If we want to change how law enforcement respond to issues in our community, we must change the policymakers that sit in the seats to make the decision.
All right. Derrick Johnson, President of NAACP. Nelson Linder, President of the Austin, Texas branch of NAACP. Love you both, brothers, okay?
Love you too, brother. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Take care. Thank you, Mark. All right. Be good. Folks, we will be back. Sirius XM Progress 127. Get woke, get ready for impeachment. This is MIP.